This video is sponsored by Soundcore.
Before we get into this video, I want to let you know I just uploaded 2 new videos to my second channel, Trap Moros. I'm going to be uploading there a lot more this year, so I'd really appreciate it if you went over there, subscribed to that channel, and gave those videos a watch. Let me know what you think in the comments over there. I really appreciate it. Link to that channel in description. Thanks! In the first edition of Gangs of Chicago, we took a look at the formation of Chicago's 2 main street gangs, the Black Disciples, or BDs, and the Gangster Disciples, or GDs. These 2 organizations of warring gangsters pretty much ruled the streets of Chicago from the end of the 1960s all the way up to the 2000s. Thing is, when the Chicago police and housing authorities tore down their organizations and the literal buildings that they operated from, this left the next generation of BDs and GDs in the 2000s and 2010s with no leadership or organizational structure, as the new generations of both Black Disciples and Gangster Disciples split into numerous smaller decentralized sets, setting out to control smaller territories, making new alliances, and battling with new ops. And you might remember in the last edition of Gangs of Chicago, we took a closer look at one of those smaller BD sets, O Block from Parkway Gardens, and their deadly feud with the GD set Toucaville, made up of members from the STL and EBT territories around 63rd. And today we're going to be taking a closer look at another clash between 2 prominent Chicago drill sets, a collection of numerous Black Disciple crews known as 300, more specifically their Lamron set from Normal Ave, who had an explosive beef with a collection of Gangster Disciple sets which would later end up going by the name Jojo World, named after the killing of their most prominent member Lil Jojo, who at the time of his death was known for repping the GD set Brick Squad from 069. The story of Lil Jojo is one of the craziest stories from Chicago gang lore. It features numerous murders, wild high street shootouts on the highway, and scathing diss songs dropped on both sides of the war. This is a feud which was shockingly driven heavily by activity on Twitter, and taking place in the early days of Chicago drill culture, the feud between the Black Disciples and Lil Jojo that would ultimately leave him deceased provided a cautionary tale to gangsters all over the world. Be very careful about sharing your location. And never forget that a beef on Twitter can escalate into a real-life situation with fatal consequences. So this is the story of how Lil Jojo's block became Jojo World. Now, if you're a drill music veteran that's done a few tours of duty in Chirac, then 300 might already be a familiar crew to you. And I know that 300 tends to conjure up the image of a bunch of chest-kicking Spartans, but in Chicago, the phrase 300 or 300 was made popular by Chief Keef, whose song 300 was a love letter to the Black Disciple crews who clicked up and decided to start making music together. But beyond the music, 300 is actually a cluster of Chicago street gang sets. This includes Lamron, who are actually the first set to begin claiming 300 as their namesake, located on Normal Ave just north of 069 Brick Squad territory, Lamron obviously being normal backwards. Now, Lamron is most notable for its star rappers Lil Durk, aka the voice of the streets, and Lil Reese, aka the Grim Reaper. And just like Chief Keef, both Durk and Reese are not afraid of flexing their 300 associations in their music, with Reese telling the world on his hit song Traffic that 300 is Lamron, aka normal spelled backwards. As the Chicago drill, street, and music culture begun to evolve, other sets begun to see themselves as representing under the 300 movement too. Most notably O Block, who we discussed extensively in the last video, home to the likes of King Von and most importantly Chief Keef. Chief Keef put Chicago drill on the map more than anybody ever had before with his track I Don't Like, which went viral in 2012, which even attracted a remix from the most unstable Chicago driller in history, KANYE West. I Don't Like was one of the first grimy Chicago street tracks to become a genuine mainstream hit, going 73 on the Billboard chart and eventually landing Chief Keef a platinum plaque. Not bad for a ratchet-toting teenage Chicago driller, is it? But one must never forget that that original version of I Don't Like also featured Lamron legend Lil Reese, who joined Chief Keef shouting out 300 for the whole world to see. Of course, Chief Keef would continue flying the 300 flag on his track 300, and over time, other Black Disciple sets in the city of Chicago begun to show love and rep under the 300 flag too. This includes the likes of nearby BD set 600, who were formerly the Brick City GDs, a crew that ended up flipping to BD due to a whole bunch of reasons that I'll cover later, and of course 600 being the home to your boy 600 Breezy. For the record, the Brick City GDs are not to be confused with Brick Squad 069, the GDs who we'll be discussing in more detail later in this video. Also clicked up with 300 are the nearby Front Street BDs, which includes the likes of Fredo Santana, and the BD set Dipset from the 71st and 72nd and Normal Ave, who were also known to beef with Brick Squad 069. And numerous other smaller BD crews from around Chicago clicked up with 300, like Dog Pound, Low Life, AMG, SMB, and numerous others. Naturally, a lot of the appeal of being clicked up with the 300 crew came from just how much buzz in the streets musically the likes of Lil Durk and Chief Keef were getting in 2012. So you can see why 300 was popping in Chicago in the early 2010s and why everybody would want to be clicked up with them. So how about their ops?
And now a word from our sponsor.
Thanks Soundcore for sponsoring this video. I've just opened a fresh set of Liberty Air 2 Pro wireless noise cancelling earbuds. Liberty Air 2 Pro, they are so dope. The new headphones from Soundcore. Whoa. Liberty Air 2 Pro, they are no joke. That's right, they're endorsed by Grammy-winning folk. Woo. Just like Neo, Lecrae for show, and DJ Mustard. It's Mustard on a beat. Oh. Liberty Air 2 sound quality is the highest. So high! Thanks to 11mm pure note TM sound drivers. It has 3 different active noise cancellation modes. 3? Outdoor, which tunes out the creative sounds of the city as you go. Reducing sounds of the cars driving past. Meow. And wind whipping by your face real fast. To make sure that your tunes, they always blast. Boom, boom. And you can use them when you're cruising in the car. Skirt. Completely cancel out engine noise with transport mode. Perfect on a plane to block out that annoying drone. Meow. Nothing worse than flying but you can't sleep. But no more cabin noise when I got my Soundcores on me. No way, no way. But sometimes I can't focus when I'm at home. What? That's why it's dope that they've got an indoor mode. Indoor mode, yeah. To block out the air conditioner's constant whir. Or colleagues talking in the office leaving me disturbed. Shut up! And they're so easy and sleek to carry with me. I love them things. The beautiful designs of the earbuds and case, so sweet. It's so sweet. They're super comfortable in my ear as well. They're mad comfy. With 4 colours available for you to express yourself. Express yourself. And the Soundcore app has customizable EQs. Customizable! To make sure your beats are booming the way you groove. They're booming your way! So go and hit that link in the description. Hit that! And get the best headphones in the game before you miss them. Don't miss them. For real, shout out Soundcore for sponsoring this video. Definitely go and cop a set of Liberty Air 2 Pro earbuds. They are fire. Thanks guys. Peace out.
Well, meanwhile, over on the other side, south of Lamron is the GD set Brick Squad on 069. The most prominent members of Brick Squad, at least for the purposes of this story, are of course Lil Jojo and his half-brother Swag De Niro. However, just like 300, Brick Squad does have its alliances, but theirs work a little differently. Because you see, Brick Squad isn't just a Gangster Disciple set, they're insane GDs. Now, insane refers to a certain kind of gangbanger in Chicago, where GDs and BDs from both sides of the fence form an alliance against shared ops under the insane banner. With this meaning sometimes insane GDs beef other GDs, and even Lil Jojo himself had tweeted that even though he is a GD, he is also GDK, a GD killer, and some insane GDs have even referred to themselves as EBK or Everybody Killer, which under that logic, I'm gonna just go right out on a limb and say that I'm an MBK, I ain't killing nobody. But for real, you can see why you'd call somebody insane if they were literally in a gang, yet they beef people that are technically in the same gang, and are somehow friends with some people from the opposing gang, all in the name of shared ops, I guess. Anyway, regardless, both Lil Jojo and his brother Swag De Niro were gangbanging hard for Brick Squad 069 from early. In fact, Swag De Niro even recounted in a DJ Vlad interview that is well worth a watch how growing up with Lil Jojo, they'd be gangbanging as kids, running around with a Polaroid camera, taking pictures of each other, throwing up GD gang signs.
Cause we had the Polaroid camera. All the pictures we took, we in that gangbang. It was the culture, like my family, everybody GD, like even my aunties gangbang.
Now the thing with the 069 Brick Squad insane GDs is they don't all bang under one big umbrella like the 300 guys do, but they are clicked up with a number of other mainly GD sets. This includes the nearby insane GD set CMB, some members of No Love City who were known to beef Lamron heavily, they were cool with some GDs from the set MOB, and of course Brick Squad ended up getting very tight with the STL EBT gangs of Tukaville since they were known to beef O-Block and other 300 sets so heavily. And of course Brick Squad are closely tied to nearby crew D Block right next to Brick Squad turf covering 070 and 069. Now at the start of this story, this insane GD turf that was known as Brick Squad and D Block was actually referred to as Akiville after a beloved member Aki from this area was sadly gunned down. Aki was a Brick Squad member murdered on July the 16th, 2011 after an argument over a hat at a house party. After his passing, the local rapping drillers recorded a tribute song called R.I.P. Aki, which became legendary in the area.
R.I.P. Aki, Man, I miss you while you had to die, G.
However, Aki wasn't actually killed as part of this beef. The bloodshed between these two groups dates all the way back to the late noughties. So now you know the gangs, sets, and people involved, let's go all the way back to 2008 and take a look at one of the very first incidents that started this beef off. The killing of a very close friend of Lil Durk, Lil Reese, and Chief Keef, the beloved 300 Lamron member, Lil Mo. The 2009 track R.I.P. Lil Mo is actually one of the earliest Lil Durk songs in existence. The song's title is a reference to Terrence Lil Mo Hollins. Seen here with his cousin Lil Reese on Christmas in 2008, Lil Mo was respected and connected amongst the Lamron 300 community. Mo was apparently super close to all of the guys 300 and affiliated, but unfortunately at the young age of 17, Lil Mo was shot and killed in a drive-by on the 7300 block of South Dorchester Avenue in July 2009. The loss of Lil Mo was apparently devastating to the Lamron and 300 crews, and members paid tribute to their fallen brother on tracks like R.I.P. Lil Mo, which we've already mentioned, and on the track Brothers by L.A. Capone, Rondo No. 9, and Lil Durk, where Durk says R.I.P. Lil Mo as well as shouting out O.D. Perry a while before he was killed and O Block was renamed in his memory. Also on the track It's Crackin', Chief Keef also pays respects, rapping R.I.P. to Lil Mo. Lil Mo was supposedly killed as part of a long-running and deadly feud between the Lamron set and nearby GD rivals No Love City. This is a legendary beef in Chicago that apparently has a long history dating back years, with many lives having been lost on both sides. A BD-GD war apparently dating all the way back to the 80s. Following the death of Lil Mo, it's said that the Lamron BDs were hungry for revenge. Two prominent young men from No Love City were killed in what appear to be retaliation attacks in November 2009. A 21-year-old man named Ronald Young, known on the streets as Lil Ron, was shot dead in his home, and another 21-year-old by the name of Ricky Coleman, known on the streets as Lil Ricky, was shot up in a walk-up style assassination at a gas station in Inglewood on 810 West and 59th Street. Now, with all of this violence going on in the streets, eventually this feud would make its way into music. But remember, at this point in 2009, Chicago drill music was still in its infancy. This is years before King Von and Chief Keef made it cool to dish your ops and talk about smoking on Tuka on songs. But it turns out that it was actually Lil Durk, the voice, Durky Yo himself, who really pioneered drawing out your Chirac ops on wax by calling them out by name. Because as early as 2009, Lil Durk was on that song R.I.P. Lil Mo, dissing No Love City, who was supposedly responsible for taking his friend's life. At the time, Durky O clearly hadn't developed into the voice, the Chicago Jay-Z that we know him as today, because at one point on the song, to diss his ops, he just shouts Brick City can suck a dick over and over again.
Brick City can suck a dick, Brick City can suck a dick.
Lil Durk also used the song as an opportunity to publicly shout out the alliance between 300 Lamron and Dog Pound, but realistically, at this point, the Chicago drill scene hadn't really picked up enough attention for homemade diss tracks like this to really pick up any traction in the streets. So in the years that followed, the beef between the Lamron 300 BDs and various other GD sets remained in the streets. But a pivotal moment in this feud is said to have occurred in 2010, when it's said that somebody from Lamron 300 killed a man named Thomas, with alliances to Brick Squad on 069 and D Block on 070. However, the deceased man's cousin was apparently an affiliate of the Lamron BDs known as Killer Kells, and apparently the loss of his cousin caused Kells to flip to being an insane BD, joining alliance with Brick Squad 069, the insane GDs, in a vow to avenge his cousin. By 2011, Brick Squad and their affiliates from nearby Wooga World were jumping on songs to diss Lamron and rep their gang sets on music, featuring lyrics that shouted out members like Killer Kells bringing choppers along to a drill, with the likes of P. Rico, Dez, and Lil Mister all taking sides in the early stages of this musical beef. But away from the music, the violence was also still playing out in the streets. On the 6th of July 2011, 18-year-old DeKinta Childress, also known as Taysky from Lamron, is killed, getting shot in Inglewood on the 6100 block of South Normal Avenue and passing away in hospital 2 days later. Eventually, the two shooters in this case were actually caught around 3 years later, with it being revealed that the attackers had actually used an assault rifle and a pistol to assassinate Taysky in the middle of a busy crowd. Parts of Lamron begun to be referred to as Tay-Town in his memory, and the remaining Lamron members would seek get back both in the streets and musically. And it was here that Lil Durk prepared to drop a groundbreaking diss track taking aim squarely at his GD ops. A game-changing song that would set the wheels in motion for years of bloody battles between Chicago's BD and GD sets. It was at this moment that things would go far beyond music. In March 2012, Lil Durk dropped the official Lamron BD theme tune, L's Anthem, and this was considered to be one of the most iconic early Chicago drill tracks. Within only months of this release, Lil Durk was signed to Def Jam Records, even landing himself a French Montana remix of the song, and getting so much attention in the streets of Chicago that L's Anthem even ended up getting a significant amount of radio airplay, despite how much of a grimy street anthem it really was. The track featured a tribute to Lil Mo, as well as numerous bars where Durk would directly diss rival GD set Brick Squad and their affiliates Wooga World, who Lil Durk had been dissing on Wax already. So Lil Durk's track L's Anthem contained a lyric literally saying fuck Brick Squad. Combine that with the fact that this song was getting a significant amount of radio airplay in Chicago at the time, broadcasting these disses to their ops all over the city, this essentially lit a fuse, causing a chain reaction of deadly violence that would soon follow. Lil Jojo of Brick Squad reportedly heard Lil Durk saying fuck Brick Squad on the radio and was livid. In fact, Jojo's brother Swag De Niro told DJ Vlad that Jojo only decided to start rapping after he'd heard L's Anthem.
He didn't really want to rap until he heard Lil Durk's song, that L's Anthem. Like, this on the radio, fool. You know what I'm saying? You talking about fuckers on the radio. Man, he went crazy, fool. He ain't like that.
So bear in mind, this is all around the same time that Lil Reese and Chief Keef were blowing up with their track Don't Like, as well as Chief Keef's solo track 300, picking up buzz in the streets, leaving the whole of Chicago cheering how much they love 300. And yet another of Chief Keef's poppin' songs at this time was of course the track Every Day. So in response to Durk's direct diss on L's Anthem, and in response to the culmination of numerous popular drill songs by BDs repping 300 at the time, on April 27th, 2012, Lil Jojo drops a remix to Chief Keef's song Every Day, proving that he is truly insane by dissing every single BD in Chicago at once. Lil Jojo's song was called 300K or BDK, which obviously stands for 300 Member Killer or Black Disciple Killer. In the song, Jojo specifically says that he can't wait to catch Durk and hit him with his 40, and to prove that he did indeed have 40s on deck, 300K aka BDK came along with a music video that depicted Jojo and his goons toting pistols like they just left an ammunition Black Friday sale, a video that is so low quality I wouldn't be surprised if it was recorded on one of their guns. Lil Jojo's diss song took off in a big way in Chicago, being one of the first major instances of true gangbanging on Wax. But rather than L's Anthem, which dissed the Brick Squad GD specifically, Jojo had gone far beyond what Lil Durk had with L's Anthem, going further than just dissing the 300 crews of O-Block and Lamron that had offended him by saying BDK on a song. Lil Jojo was essentially saying, I want war with any Black disciples in the city. As Jojo's song picked up steam in the city, the BDK movement did too. Many have said that when Jojo released this song, it was the moment that divided Chicago gang culture into two sides musically, with it being said that this really was the moment that the lines begun to get truly blurred between the streets and the music.
So you felt that Jojo with that song BDK started the war in Chicago?
He started the biggest war in Chicago.
Zach TV documented the fact that people were tagging BDK in BD territories.
This is where the BDs be at for real, for real. You know what I'm saying? Them L's and everything. Look at the wall. These niggas claim 300, but we BDK. Wow.
Bear in mind, getting a big response from the ops was really Lil Jojo's intention from the very start, as Swag De Niro told DJ Vlad in his interview.
The man dissed us on the national on the radio, you know what I'm saying? So he wanted to diss them on the largest scale possible.
So as ops begun to take sides, Jojo and Brick Squad found themselves beefing with Chief Keef, as well as being clicked up with their main rivals, the STL and EBT boys from 63rd, including Tukaville veteran FBG Duck. But Jojo wasn't done just splitting Chicago into two. After 300K, Jojo continued dissing 300 affiliated artists. He released the track I Got Dat Sack, where he talks about shooting ops from Lamron. He says claim 300 you get whacked. He says he's gonna catch Lil Reese in traffic with the Mac, and he points out that the ops are now clicking up, saying fuck the Lamron affiliated BD set AMG, and even mocking all of the BDs wholesale, saying at the end of the song BDK die L's on Queen David, a mocking reference to the fact that super BDs like King Von constantly end sentences by saying on King David, a reference to the early BD founder David Barksdale.
Yeah. She ain't got no panties on King David.
In addition to I Got That Sack, Lil Jojo also released a song and music video called Tied Up, which had a tied up Chief Keef lookalike in it, and even off Wax, Jojo couldn't help himself getting drawn out on Twitter, constantly flexing his Twitter fingers like Meek Mill and dissing his ops online, calling out Durk for saying fuck Brick Squad on L's Anthem, and saying publicly that he will put him on a shirt on some YNW Melly shit. Problem is, Jojo's recklessness with his Twitter fingers would soon become a cautionary tale. Soon, Jojo would find himself in a Twitter-based beef that would end up with his life being taken. At some point, it's alleged that Lil Reese and Lil Jojo bumped into each other in traffic where shots were fired, with Jojo releasing a video recorded seemingly in the immediate aftermath of the incident, which made it look like he was chasing Lil Reese, shouting he gon' kill his ass.
I told you to ride this. Them ass niggas running. They in the legs, bro, hawking their ass. Man's out here. That is for real. He up there. Hey, hurry up, he turning. They turning. Catch that light.
I got this.
Yeah, no. The folks rolling that Lexus, boy. The Lexus gets about that jam, bro. That nigga got 12, bro.
BC ain't even driving. He a bitch. I'ma kill his ass.
Jojo tweeted about this afterwards, saying that he was the one who caught Lil Reese in traffic and that Reese wasn't with the shits, before later seemingly admitting that it was Reese that shot at Jojo, but Reese fortunately missed. A few weeks later, Jojo then tweeted asking his followers who wanted to see a picture of him standing on the op block of Lamron, which I believe was this picture, with Reese replying suggesting that Jojo's recent tweets are straight snitching, suggesting that Jojo's activity has got the block hot over on Lamron, and Jojo clapping back saying that they were on the block and Reese was nowhere to be found. Then, only a few days after this incident, it all goes down, as on the 4th of September 2012, Jojo leaves his house at noon, allegedly on his way to film a music video. However, around 4 PM, it became clear that what Jojo was filming wasn't quite a music video, as Lil Jojo records himself and his friends driving past Lil Reese yelling BDK at him out the window in what I believe must be Chicago Drill's very first drive-by argument. Jojo then immediately posts the video of this altercation onto Twitter and YouTube, and even in this video that Jojo himself shared, we see Jojo taunting Reese from his car, followed by Lil Reese saying pretty clearly that he is gonna M Lil Jojo.
They calling for them racks, they from the house this shit. One time to tell y'all.
Boy, you a bitch, boy. Hey, bitch, you little bitch. Yeah. Fuck is wrong with you, boy? Hey, I'm a brick squad. Yeah, brick squad, boy. Fuck is you talking about, boy?
Over your little bitch.
We ain't for none. We ain't die heirs, man. Ain't no checking out. What is wrong with y'all, boy?
Following this incident and the posting of it on Twitter, both Jojo and his brother Swag De Niro continued to taunt Reese on Twitter, and Jojo himself began to make suggestions that he was outside and available for smoke if anybody wanted to beef him in person, atting Little Reese specifically. And then, at around 7:30 PM local time, Jojo went on to share his location, saying specifically that he is outside on 069 right now. And that, unfortunately, would be the very last tweet of Lil Jojo's life, because around 9 PM that same evening, standing on that very block where Jojo had tweeted that he was, what looked like a tan Ford Taurus pulled up on Jojo, opening fire in a drive-by shooting. Now, there's conflicting reports as to whether or not Lil Jojo was riding his bike on the evening that he was shot, but regardless, what we do know is that after being shot, he ran a short distance before collapsing on the sidewalk. 6 shell casings were found at the scene. However, it's been said by numerous people, including Jojo's brother Swag De Niro, that Jojo was only shot once, with one of his friends who was actually at the scene telling reporters later just how bad the injuries were.
We all right there, we see Jojo on the ground, ambulance, they turn him around and shit, you see a big ass hole like this, boy. I'm like, boy, hell no, he couldn't get hit like one time for my life, bro. The girl said they shot like 6 times. They started it though.
After Jojo had been shot, the shooting vehicle continued to travel east, with 2 cars following behind it, with one being a 4-door Audi and another being a silver car with a spare wheel on the back. Jojo's killers would flee immediately, but not for long, as seemingly the identity of at least a couple of people involved would be revealed many years later. But the thing is, regardless of who did the hit on Jojo, considering the events that unfolded earlier that day, all eyes were on Lil Reese, Lamron, and the 300 affiliated lads. And ironically, much like Lil Jojo had done to himself, they would end up making things a whole lot worse by tweeting.
You know what I'm saying? You get caught up in this shit. This real life. This where Lil Jojo got killed. Stains on the ground, you feel me? Shit. This it right here, this real. This ain't fake.
After Jojo passed, the 300 affiliated BDs from O Block were quick to mock his death online. King Von made fun of the fact that Lil Jojo had allegedly been shot off his bike in a short clip shared to social media.
King Von don't know how Jojo. We don't know how Jojo shit today. Stretch gang, guy.
Lil Reese tweeted that he had just woken up to the news about Jojo and fuck him, and Chief Keef fired off a now legendary cold-hearted string of tweets saying, "It's sad because Jojo wanted to be just like us, hashtag laughing my ass off," followed by another message just saying, ha 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 ha, hashtag Rich Nigel shit, and another saying that he knows the real Brick Squad, hashtag 300, which naturally isn't a great look the day after a 300 op has been killed. So it's unsurprising that following these tweets, it turned out that the feds were looking into Chief Keef's involvement in the crime, and after this emerged, Chief Keef quickly changed his tune, publicly claiming that the earlier tweets were the result of him being hacked, denying any involvement in this tragedy, Jojo's death, then saying he didn't even know Jojo, but Jojo was young just like him, then tweeting a fake respectful tribute sending prayers out to Jojo, and then, very wisely, deciding to take a break from Twitter. But unfortunately, the damage was already done. A lot of people were looking at Chief Keef, and Jojo's mother even went on television and blamed Keef directly by name for her son's killing.
Who do you think is responsible for your son's death?
Chief Keef.
You believe he himself pulled the trigger?
I don't believe himself pulled the trigger. I believe he paid somebody to do it.
Naturally, the police investigation into the killing of Lil Jojo went nowhere, but around a year after his passing, internet detectives would finally get some clues in September 2013, when Chief Keef's cousin and self-confessed people killer, Tado, fired off a tweet supposedly revealing who Jojo's killers were, naming infamous O-Block shooter and close friend of King Von D. Rose, Front Street drill legend Fredo Santana, and a non-rapping shooter from Lamron named Kiki. Fredo Santana quickly came out responding to these tweets, saying Tado was lying on his name, and that all of this loose talk on Twitter had the feds knocking at his door. Tado came out not long after this to say that his Twitter got hacked too, suggesting to the public that he doesn't really know who killed Jojo. For the record, it's also been widely discredited that D. Rose or Fredo Santana had anything to do with Jojo's killing, and while not strictly a suspect but somebody who definitely would have been happy about Lil Jojo's demise, Lil Durk eventually addressed the situation around a year later when he ended up linking up with Sway, saying that people in Chicago do get killed over Twitter, seemingly a reference to Lil Jojo.
Killed over Twitter nowadays. So.
What?
Yeah.
You could get killed over Twitter by something you say on Twitter.
Arguing on Twitter.
After this, Sway ended up asking Durk directly about Jojo, which causes a swift demeanor change from Lil Durk as he gets incredibly uncomfortable and continues to peer off camera looking for somebody in the room.
Lil Jojo was killed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I ain't even gonna get into it and ask you about that, but a lot of that got triggered through Twitter, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay, I ain't even gonna ask you about that, but when you brought that up,
right,
that's what made me think about it. Man, this is
intense.
Look, I know it'd be a super explosive end to this story to find out that the real shooters were Chief Keef, Lil Reese, and Lil Durk, doing the drill them damn selves and then speeding off in a Hellcat bumping 300. But reality is never that exciting, is it? In fact, friends of Lil Jojo later would tell Zach TV that rap beef had nothing to do with it and Jojo's killing was indeed straight up street business.
We heard them, on Jojo boy, we heard them motherfucking rap niggas put money on bro head too. I ain't gonna say no
rap niggas, look. Man, them rap niggas ain't had shit to do with nothing, bro. This shit was real live street business, you feel me, man? I ain't none of that rap shit, none of that shit, bro.
The dominant theory on what actually went down was that Jojo was posting his location on Twitter, trying to draw out Lil Reese, Lil Durk, or Chief Keef as part of the ongoing rap feud that was clearly attracting him a lot of clout. But in doing this, he inadvertently exposed his own location to other Brick Squad ops from the 300 affiliate crew AMG, previously known as SMB, as well as Lamron, who wanted Lil Jojo dead for non-music related reasons, and ultimately were able to benefit from him revealing his location to the rappers he was beefing in order to do an unexpected drill on him. But the question still remains, who killed Lil Jojo? Jojo's brother Swag De Niro tweeted the day after his death, atting both Chief Keef and Lil Reese, saying that they were dead men walking. But then in 2013, Swag revealed publicly on Twitter that he believed Lil Jojo's killer was dead. Now, Reese, Durk, and Keef are all still alive, so who was the shooter he was referring to? Well, it's been alleged, at least by the internet detectives over on Reddit, that there were two main hitters involved. One name that's been put forward is Poo Poo from AMG, an apparently feared shooter who Chief Keef has even shouted out numerous times on songs, as well as replying to a tweet where a fan asked who Poo Poo Man was, with Keef simply responding 069, which was of course the murder location that Jojo had tweeted. According to Reddit, Poo Poo Man actually rapped under the name Free World Savage for a bit, and if you want to really go down the rabbit hole, legend has it Poo Poo also had something to do with a shocking 2010 incident where two teens were shot in the head, stripped naked, and left on a railway track. Now, for the record, there is absolutely no concrete proof of this. These are all internet theories that should be taken with a pinch of skepticism, and I cannot even prove that Poo Poo Man is even a real person. The other alleged shooter, who was supposedly there for the Jojo hit, on the other hand, Kiki from Lamron, who Tado had already revealed, was indeed deceased by the time Swag De Niro tweeted publicly that Jojo's killer had been killed. So that's a concrete indication of his involvement by somebody else who was involved. Kiki himself himself had supposedly laughed about Jojo's death on social media immediately following the news going public, a video which has unfortunately been lost. I couldn't find it anywhere, but even statements from the detectives looking into the killing at the time suggest that this had something to do with the incident and that video mocking Jojo was indeed real. So Kiki and other BDs that were celebrating Jojo's death on social media attracted immediate retaliation from the insane GDs of Brick Squad. Only a day after Jojo's death, a man named Larry Porter was killed in a spectacular scene where Porter was shot dead whilst driving on the Dan Ryan Expressway, with this shootout occurring whilst the car was apparently still in motion, with Porter's Jeep knocking over a light pole, going through a wrought iron fence, and slamming into the auto parts store on 87th and Lafayette. But the get back wasn't done yet, because in another hit essentially 2 weeks after Jojo was killed, on the 17th of September, Kiki Bonds, who Tado suggested was the one who hit Jojo, was also murdered. Kiki was shot multiple times on 2600 block of West 63rd Street near this tree, which became a mural following his passing. Detectives publicly pointed out the link between Jojo's death and these two killings, and in case all of that action wasn't enough of a Hollywood movie for you, 2 of the 3 men who did the first hit on the Dan Ryan Expressway ended up going on the run to Missouri, with one eventually being caught by the cops for other petty crimes, making a jailhouse call to his accomplice openly discussing the murder, which led authorities to where the murder weapon had been stashed. That gave the cops DNA evidence linking all 3 accomplices to the Larry Porter hit on the Dan Ryan Expressway, seemingly the first big retaliation after the Lil Jojo hit. All 3 of those hitters ended up getting charged in 2014, but in yet another insane spin to that story, in 2017, before the trial had even taken place, one of those suspects was mistakenly released by the prison, immediately going on the run.
There is a manhunt underway tonight for a suspected killer. Garrett Glover was wrongly released from the Illinois Department of Corrections. He was supposed to be moved to Cook County to face murder charges.
Glover has been at the county jail since 2014 for an attempted armed robbery. While in jail, he was also charged with murder in a 2012 shooting on the Dan Ryan Expressway. Prosecutors say he admitted to the killing during taped prison calls. Glover was sentenced to 4 years for the armed robbery case. He went to the intake center at Stateville in south suburban Crest Hill, where IDOC officials say he was released because he was only required to serve 50% of his 4-year sentence, which he completed in the Cook County Jail. Smith says Glover walked out of the suburban state facility Friday afternoon and hasn't been seen since.
All of that goes to show you just how insane and tangled up some of these street situations can end up getting. Anyway, in the years that went by following Lil Jojo's passing, the fallout from this incident saw numerous bodies dropping from both sides, with many looking back in hindsight to say that it was Lil Durk's song L's Anthem that really was the inciting incident for the Chicago gang beef that ultimately resulted in dozens of people dying on both sides. Even a female friend of Kiki, who was believed to have killed Lil Jojo, spoke to reporters from the Chicago Tribune from his memorial site. Off the back of that, she ended up getting the attention of the ops, who came through and gunned her down on the same Dan Ryan Expressway that Larry Porter had been killed on. And she wasn't involved, she was a pregnant mother of 5, which just goes to show you, no matter who you are, if you're involved in the war in Chicago, you can get touched. Many years have passed since the killing of Lil Jojo, and whilst so much has been said on both sides in straight up disrespect, the fact is, Lil Jojo's case is a cautionary tale. Jojo had barely turned 18 when he was gunned down. He'd been gangbanging on songs just trying to get the attention of the Chicago music scene, and unfortunately, he did end up getting it. When 300K blew up, people thought that Lil Jojo might be the next Chief Keef, but unfortunately, Lil Jojo didn't even live long enough to see the true opportunity that he had created for himself through music. Chief Keef was fortunately able to take all the money he made making drill music and move far, far away from O Block to safety. And sure, some of the OGs from the block clown Chief Keef for never coming back to the O, but 8 years on from Lil Jojo's death and Chief Keef is still alive and well. The same can't be said for Jojo. Unfortunately, it seems like that BDK energy was just too toxic for Lil Jojo to escape these streets with his life. If I've got one hope, it's that the future generations of Chicago drillers can navigate the streets with a better understanding of the impact that their music can have. A hit rap song in Chicago can make you a millionaire and get you out of the streets for good, but the wrong kind of song can leave you murdered in cold blood before you even have a chance. And perhaps the only difference between the two is sharing your location on Twitter. Thanks for watching that video. Really hope you enjoyed that and that you've enjoyed all of the other episodes in this Gangs of the World series that I've had going on. Definitely go and check out my Gangs of Australia video if you haven't already. That one's got some really interesting info, and if you enjoy the music of 1-4 as much as I do, you might find it really fascinating to find out some of their history. If you enjoy my work in general, definitely go and check out my other channel, Trap More Ross. I'm going to be uploading a lot more fun, casual type hip-hop videos over there, and I just uploaded a fresh video where I take a look at some of the craziest bust-down chains on the internet. It's really good. I would definitely recommend you go check that out. Shout out to the Patreon support supporting this video. Don't forget, if you're a $10 patron of this channel and you join my Discord, you get access to the VIP lounge. So make sure you go and jump in there and talk to me one-to-one if you haven't already. And if you're not a patron, still make sure you come and check out the Discord. It's the premier place for you to come and have a chat with me, share your ideas for the next video topic, give your opinion on what's going on in the hip-hop world right now, and submit your most fire tracks for me to have a listen to. Appreciate everybody's support. It's going to be a fire 2021. I'm super excited. So until next time, people, thanks for watching.